Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
We're thinking about 4. Is that enough for you to sit around the table and dug in deeper to the specific numbers? So they told us 5.5 is that's what they started at, but they agreed to having the meeting. So this is for us. This is the new standard. And I told them it may be a few 100,000 up, but it also may be a few 100,000 lower. Okay. So given the fact that they still
want meat,
yeah. Their expectations are around this number. Okay. So what I want to do is, because the deals are extremely complementary to each other, the key client exposure goes down by quite a bit. I want to fund them together. And as I previously told you before, my current company, this one, grew from an EBITDA from 40K to 533 last year to 1.3 million this year, and the banks won't finance it on itself. So
when you say they won't finance it on itself, what does that mean exactly? What do you mean?
The banks, they came back with 3 reasons not to fund my initial deal, my current company, because I...
did you want to borrow money, or did you want to buy your first acquisition, be your own company?
Yeah, exactly.
I got you now, okay.
Yeah.
And what are the 3 reasons?
What are the 3
other than bullshit?
Yeah. I had at 6.5 million, that's the current valuation of my company, with a 335,000 box transaction per the 30th of June. And I wanted to finance it via 2.9 million vendor finance, 3.9 million banking finance. So an over finance of 300,000 to pay my board. I don't pay myself because I'm already the selling party and I didn't want to push the envelope. But the banks, they told me 3 reasons. You have a history less than 3 years. You have 50% revenue coming from one client, and I have only one client proposition. Client proposition is booming for the next few years, but 2 years from now it will probably go down. So currently I'm building new client propositions to mitigate the risk. But they told me the combination of the 3 factors was too much. So I did the due diligence from Evan & Overy, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and a very professional investment pack for the banks, but they ultimately, Rabobank, they pulled the plug.
Well, I mean, the one that stands out to me is the 53% revenue of one client. That is a red flag. And even though you're going to change it over the 1 or 2 or 3 years, that alone would stop most banks.
Yeah.
That alone. For the 3 years history is bullshit. They always say they use that. They don't because it's that's your business. So I mean, what they're saying is they want you to have 3 more years history. Is that what they're saying?
No, the business.
The business.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're selling the business, right?
Yeah.
To whom?
It's the first one in my roll-up.
Okay, so you're selling it, but it's going to be part of your holding company.
Exactly.
Okay, so why do you need 3 more years history?
So in 1 year from now, then they said they told us come back in 1 year.
But what about the history you've already accumulated? How long have you been in business?
Yeah, but I've been. My personal experience is on a different track. I only started this business in late 2017.
Okay, I got you.
So what I want to do now is I found a similar company with different clients. So my current company has a revenue of 5.1 million. These guys will end up at 8.5 million in the current year. So it will go. My key client exposure, 53%, will be reduced by approximately 60% on the total. So I think one of the 3 factors is being mitigated. They have the same, so they've also key client exposure 42%, 9%, and 13%. If I add the revenue of my current business, it will be lowered on
okay, now is Rabobank your current bank?
It is. It's one of the banks we're talking about.
Oh, no, but I mean, who's the bank that you do business with today?
ABN AMRO.
Okay, and what do they say?
They didn't want to finance this business, the secondment business. They don't have a risk appetite for it.
Okay, and who else you talking to?
ING and Rabobank.
And what did ING say?
ING, they closed the door after the first meeting. They told us to come back with a longer track record because it's too is growing like this, and it's too fragile. And Rabobank was the only one who we had several meetings with them, and that ended up at the investment committee.
Now, you were saying one of those key clients is a bank, correct?
They're all banks, yeah. So we deliver. The focus is on we provide people services to the banking industry in Holland.
Is there any conflict about? It doesn't happen to be one of those three banks you're talking about, right?
Yes, we're basically delivering to all of them as well. So we're asking for a loan.
What's their view on that? Do they consider it a conflict? Do they care?
No, they don't care.
Okay.
It's separate worlds internally.
All right.
So so I need to get rid of my current company because it's holding me back from doing QLA full time.
Okay.
This company, we're complementary from a client point of view. This one has a very experienced managing director who can take over from me, and who's will be much better in running my current business than I am. So I can focus on QLA. So now I'm trying to wrap them together. With an extra with a vendor loan of this one, the bidding price is 4 million. Given the risk and given the fact that we don't get the company name, we're on an EBITDA multiplier of 4.2. This is the industry average according to PricewaterhouseCoopers. We bid 4 million, 2 million vendor loan and 2 million loan is the current proposal. For my own company, I will take a higher vendor loan to get it financed. To take a vendor loan of 3.5 to 4 million. So we currently approach the banks to get 6 million funded, including total funding requirement 12 million. We get, for my deal 1, 4 million vendor loan, which is my own company, and deal 2 is 6 million vendor loan. So 6 million banking loan, including 2 million to pay for the time of the board members, to pay the due diligence partners, and to add additional working capital.
Okay, well, I mean, how much of that is allegedly working capital? We got 2 million overfinance on a deal. That's a lot. That's a bridge, perhaps too far.
It's currently we structured it in 750,000 working capital for both entities, 750K for due diligence and time compensation for the board members.
Okay, so the due diligence from the accountants and the lawyers is probably going to be, I don't know, 350, half that, and the other half is split up amongst the board members. And you're not taking any because you're already getting paid.
Yeah.
That sounds all right.
Yeah.
Sounds all right, yeah. I slap on a overdraft. In addition, what's the turnover or revenue for the group?
The revenue for the group is 13.5.
Okay, well, I'd ask for $1 million, 1 million overdraft, which is well within the guidelines.
Yeah.
It's not it's not a tulip deal.
No. So you think that with the lowered risk profile, the banks will have appetite?
Yeah. But I would talk. I know those are the 3 big banks, but I mean, there's 50 banks in Holland.
Yeah. You noticed this morning, or you mentioned it this morning. Currently, I've approached 5 large banks.
Well, I know.
The other banks, Deutsche, for example, they have you can talk to Deutsche if you have 100 million and up. And other banks, they only do 1 or 2 million, so they're too small.
But I mean, there's got to be a middle band in there. I'm surprised about the Deutsche 100 million, but I believe you. But there's got to be, the banks that do, 5 to 25 million euro deals. But I mean, you got to do the research. I mean, there is money in the Netherlands. And you got to call on more banks, more financial institutions. Now, and as I said, they're not offices on the ground level, but they're lending centers, the lending centers, and all across Europe. Where there's fewer of the lending centers is in the old Iron Curtain countries.
Mm-hmm.
Those things that are still, fairly favorable to communism. There's few of them there, but Bank of America's got one in Hungary. That's not what Peter used, but Bank of America's got one in Hungary. And so they're there. And if you're in the UK or the United States, there's a gazillion.
Right.
Canada is similar to Switzerland, only has 4 or 5 banks, but there's at least 100 banks. But I would go and I would touch the water with other financial institutions, the ones that are in between the small and the Deutsche 100 million. I'm sure that there's other banks, but the new revised structure you have should work.
Okay.
Should work.
Good.
Should work. But I mean, the Dutch don't make anything easy.
That's true.
Yeah.
In this instance, it is.
Yeah. I mean, and so this to me isn't convoluted. But to a little banker that 2 and 2 equals 4, it might sound convoluted. But one of the things, and you can't underestimate this, the jealousy that will incur because they're going to see you get rich.
Is that a Dutch thing? Or is it?
No, it's a Mississippi thing, actually. I mean, yeah, and the young kids, the Joshes of this world are coming up against that. It's funny, nobody gave a fuck him being rich as a teenager, but now that he's 22, now they give a fuck that he's rich. Some of the younger bankers are just shutting down some of the kids because the only thing that I can think of is because there's always a reason why a banker can kill a deal. Always. And I believe it's because of the jealousy that kids are getting rich.
Mr. Peña, would you consider that the current banks, they're at the interest rate of 3.5%? We've also been talking to, for example, KKR, but they ask for a 50% loan collateral, but apart from that, also a 7% interest, so it's both. Would you consider to get the deal done to pay a 7% interest rate?
What's the free cash flow?